So this session is all about subfloor preparation and what do we do. Obviously ARDEX are famous in the subfloor preparation world and the market leader of subfloor preparation in the flooring industry. And we're going to pass on some of that knowledge into the tiling industry today. So myself and Glenn are going to be running the session. When I'm mixing up, when I disappear from behind the camera, Glenn's going to jump in and tell you all about the products and so on. So just before we start, if you could just switch your cameras off like you have done before and make sure your microphones are muted, and we're good to go. So first product we're going to look at today is a product that you guys do keep on your shelf. And I'm going to, just before we get into that, I'm going to be asking you questions today, okay? Looking for some answers back. Hopefully you'll be able to fill that. So one of the products I'm going to talk about today is one that you keep on your shelf within the CTD branches, which is ARDEX A46. Now, can anybody from one of the branches tell me what A46? The ARDEX A46 comes in a tub. Okay, I'll just pick it up so you can tell me with the camera. It comes in a tub like that. You've probably all seen it on your shelf. Can somebody tell me what that actually does? What it's for?
I believe it's a repair mortar.
It's a repair mortar. Well done. Okay, so what that's ideally for is for where you've got maybe channels in the floor, somebody's knocked the wall out, and you need to fill that, but you want something that's going to dry really quick. Traditionally, with builders, when builders do repairs like that, what they'll do is mix a bit of cement and a bit of sand together with a bit of water, throw it in the hole, and smooth it over. But what happens with sand and cement when it's drying is it shrinks and cracks, okay? And it probably debonds. Whereas if you use A46, it's shrink compensated, so that won't happen. And it's got lots of polymers in it, so it'll stick to the edges and the base when you're trying to patch that in. So it's ideal for patching in floors. You can use it externally, so moisture doesn't affect this product, okay? So it can be used outside for patching steps, and I'm sure you've all seen some of the videos I've done. Okay, when I've patched steps and drains and all that kind of stuff. Where else can it be used? Well, it can be used for making falls in wet rooms. You know, a lot of these disabled adaptations now are from an old bathroom into a wet room where they put a drain in the floor. And obviously one of the most important things, even though they put a drain in the floor, is to make sure they've made a fall so the water goes down the drain. Well, again, A46 can be used for that. It's very, very easy to make a fall. All right. I think I say, so it's got so many uses. And the other one is when you're doing, let's say you're doing a splashback in a kitchen or something, the electrician's been in, that pesky electrician that's chased all the walls out, instead of a nice narrow to get his trunking in, he's made a big massive hole, he's knocked all his boxes out, and there's a lot of mess. Now, in my day of tiling, and I'm going back a long, long time, yeah, you know, tilers in them days would be getting 3 pieces of tile and just building them up, trying to fill these gaps in. They were trying to do it with tile adhesive, and it's all with tile adhesive, so as it's drying, it shrinks again, it cracks and crazes. So this type of product really, really is ideal for that as well. So I'm just going to mix them up, all right? But when you buy it, Charlotte can switch the camera. These are the buckets you get on your shelf. It also comes in an 11 kg bag as well if somebody's got a bigger operation to do, all right? So inside there, just so everybody's aware, in case you've never opened one before, if I can open it, inside there, oh looks like I can win something today, look. Inside there is a little bag of A46 and they've got a little mixing bucket to go with it. That's the idea. And they can only have to mix up what they need. It's a true 3-to-1 ratio. So that's 1 part water to 3 parts powder. So it's very, very easy and simple to use. And again, let's say, if anybody's ever seen the videos I've done on YouTube with this product, I've patched all sorts in with it. So 1, 2, now 3. With this product, you can mix it with the old gauging trowel, but to get the best performance out of it, ideally, mix it with a whisk. It makes it more creamy and smooth, and it's blending all them polymers together far better. So what we should have now is a nice slump-free, the way you see on the camera, consistency. So we look at my block here, all these different holes, somebody's chased out a socket. If I want to, To kill the suction, bit of water in there.
Or even if you've got one of those like garden mist sprayers in the bottle, you can spray the surface. As Steve rightly says, it's just to kill any suction that the substrate may have, and you'll get a better bond and keep with it as well if you dampen down the area.
Straight away, you can see I'm putting patches in the hole, and it's just staying there.
Steve, can we prime that as well then? If we've got a bottle of primer, is there any issues if we were to use a primer?
There's no reason. Well, two things there, Jeff. If it's a dry location, yes, you could put a bit of primer on if you want. But if it's a damp location, I could say if I'm using primer, just use water. Because don't forget, sometimes in really, really damp, if you're using it external and stuff like that, some of these primers can break down. So water would be the better solution for external stuff.
So for A46, water is the actual primer to use. Because all you're doing by adding in primers, you're just adding another product within the system, which it doesn't need.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on when I show you one of the other products. So very, very easy and simple to make up. Let that go up. Now, if you're not very good at DIY, which a lot of us aren't, looking by the way I've done this today, okay, what you can do, let it go off a little bit, and then you can sponge finish it. Dries in 30 minutes. It won't crack and craze because it's shrink compensated. So I'm sure you'll agree, and you've watched that on the screen now, that was very, very easy. Okay, go on.
Good question. Can it be used on plaster walls?
Yes. Yeah, no issues with that. Okay, because it's got rapid dry technology, you can use it within a plastic wall, not a problem at all. All right. Now, another little trick for you. I always show this, and some of you might have seen it if I've been in branch. Okay, if you've got a hole in the wall, maybe you've put a raw plug in before, and the raw plug's pulled out, and you're trying to get a good fix in. Again, get a bit of this, fill the hole in, really wedge it right in to the bottom. And then just put your raw plug in, let that go off. Once it's gone off, screw your screw in. Really, really good. Okay. If you wanted to, I'll just turn it that way. Okay, back to our wet room scenario. Very, very easy to make a ramp. What you can do with this product, you can cut and shape it. I just cut that off, you should be able to see it. And there's a ramp down to a gully or whatever, made really, really easy, really quick. Okay, you can make battens and stuff like that if you want to make different types of falls, but that's just a quick example of what you can do with 46. And as you say, it's rapid drying, 30 minutes, it'll have gone off. Okay, paint after a couple of hours, you can tie it after 30 minutes. Okay.
Steve, I actually have a question for the CTD team. Hey guys, just quickly in regards to making falls in a shower enclosure, what would you guys actually recommend using? Anybody?
We scared them off, Glenn.
Oh, right, I have. Must be my New Zealand dialect.
Well, I'll answer that.
Sorry, no, hang on. I think Simon?
Yeah, normally we recommend they use a preformer shower tray.
Oh, right, okay.
We do get sometimes people asking for other forms of creating falls, but it's quite rare for people to come in and ask us about creating a manual fall.
Right.
It
Okay.
all depends on the application, really.
At least you guys know now it's in your
Yeah.
armory that
Yeah, I mean,
A46
I've
can-
used the A46 myself personally at home, and I think it's a great product.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Cheers, Simon.
No problem.
Thank you for that. It's good to see somebody's trying it. So that's age 46. It's the same. It's one in your range. It's one there. It's one. I honestly believe. I'll come back down to this camera. So, I honestly believe every tradesman in the world, whether you're an electrician, plumber, general builder, plasterer, should keep this product in your van. It's always going to get you out of trouble. You might have knocked a hole through the wall, damaged the plasterwork, damaged the brickwork. The pipe's too big. You can patch in around there. It's so versatile. They say, just to show you there, I don't know if you can see that, nice smoothed out ramp. That's the type of finish you can get on it. Okay. What we've actually done there with the socket is we mixed a bit up. We've actually bedded the socket in that and then let it go off. Filled in deep. It will go to 50 mil thick. Okay, not an issue. Won't crack or craze, as you can see there. And there's the one we did earlier with the hole. Really good all-rounder. Anybody got any questions for me on that one? No?
I think Steve, the product's really good because CTD, they get a lot of electricians, plumbers, general builders come in. So that's one that the guys can actually introduce to them and push forward. So yeah, like you said, every man's van should have one in the back of the car. Because some of these sites, they don't know what they're getting involved with.
And any of the guys on the call today, okay, just before I answer the question, any of the guys on the call today, if you want one of the demo blocks that we've got there to sit on your trade counter, then please let us know and we can get you one made up. Right, Charlotte.
What's the minimum thickness?
Minimum thickness is 2 mil, okay, down to 2 mil. You know, if you look where I've been on that block, it's actually gone to nothing. All right, so realistically, it will go down to nothing, but we do sell the data sheet 2 mil. Okay. Yep.
Kieran's got a question.
Kieran.
Sorry, mate. I had to answer a technical call for ARDEX, and I can't remember at the start. I had to turn you off for a minute. Did you mention the sizes? Is it just in that one size, or can you get a bigger one?
It comes in the little drum here, which is a 5 kg, which is a bag, but we also do 11 kg unit, which is a bigger type of bag. So
right, okay.
Repairs, yeah. Okay.
Brilliant, thank you.
And again, as I say, just to recap, it can be used outside for patching, patios, concretes, steps, all that type of stuff where there's damage occurred. I've got some brick steps in my garden that go down. The frost's had them over the years, and I've patched them with this product, and it's been there, well, it's probably 5 years now. Goes a bit green. I'll power wash it off. It allows me to power wash it. It's a good all-round product. Okay.
I have actually one question. Can it be painted on once you put it down, once it's dry? So if someone used it on the garage floor, for instance, could it then be painted afterwards?
Okay, so just explain in regards to a garage floor, just doing some patching, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, just do some patching, yeah, let it go off a couple of hours and then you can paint it. Boxy paint or normal floor paint or whatever.
Okay, cool.
Okay, it actually dries as hard as concrete. At our factory up at Stoke, we've actually repaired with one of my guys who's been up there the last week repairing the factory floor with it for forklifts to go over and stuff like that. So, okay.
We've used it on a ramp at CTD Tunbridge for where the fork hoist was going in and out of the shutters. I was doing a trade day there, and I patched up the front of it because the forklift was bouncing because it had chipped away over the years. Patched it with A46. Half an hour later, it was back in action. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Right. I've got a question to you guys on the call now. And first of all, before I go into that, I'm going to say it's great to have people asking me these questions today. I do a lot of these sessions throughout the week, and sometimes I don't get any questions. It's hard work. So thank you for everybody that's asking the questions so far. I really appreciate it. The next one is, I'm going to ask you a question now. Somebody comes into your branch, okay, and they've got some cracks in their sand and cement screed, or their concrete, okay. They've got some cracks in it, All right, they don't really want to use a decoupling mat or anything like that because of height, or for whatever reason, I don't know. They just got a crack in the floor and they just want to patch it in. What type of product would you be telling them to use for a crack?
I would probably recommend the A46, all depending, I suppose, on how thin or how wide the crack is.
Okay.
I don't see why you couldn't use the A46.
Okay, that's a reasonable answer. That's a pretty good answer. As long as the crack was stable, yeah, it wasn't going to move again, then yeah, you could go down that route and really wedge the A46 in. But if you've got a crack that might be, you don't know, you're not sure if it's going to move any further, or temperature changes might cause it to move or whatever, we do a program. You haven't got this in your range, but I decided to you know, it's there. If you ever get asked about a crack or something, you only need to ring us up. It is on the system, okay, and we could supply you with this little unit. So I'm quickly going to go through the crack repair, okay, that we do. Very simple kit, and that's why I wanted to show it to you. And then we'll move on with the smoothing and leveling, if that's okay with everybody. So what we've got is this little kit from ARDEX, which is P10SR. Oh, can you see it there, Charlotte? Yeah, okay. And it comes in two bottles like that, a clear and a darker liquid. You also get some gloves with it, and you get these little things, which are what we call stitching pins. So what we've basically got here, a bit of a model, crack in the floor that's just occurred from dry shrinkage or for whatever reason, and we just want to make it really stable. So we're going to stabilize the crack, okay? So what we've got is, every 200 mil, we can cross-cut the floor with an angle grinder. We should go down about 2/3 the depth of the slab. Once we've angle grinded it out, obviously making sure we've got dust extraction on the grinders, we pop these clips in, these pins, the stitching pins as we call them. Just go in there like that. That's really easy and really simple. So what they're doing now, I don't know if you noticed from the camera that they're corrugated as well. So what they're going to do now is they're going to try and lock that crack together. So if that crack tries to move, then it's going to hold it there. Then all we do is whip the lids off these. Part A goes into part B. So basically the clear part goes into the dark part. And there's a reason why we do that, and I'll explain that in a minute. Pop the cap back on. Don't cut the cap at this stage, because you're going to shake this now. For 10 seconds, so the two parts mix together. And then we leave it stand on there for 3 minutes. Okay, we've got about a 10-minute working time with this. So you get all your crack prepared first, and then you just go for it. Okay. Now, while we're waiting for that, if you can see on this bottle, there's a reason why we poured the clear part into the dark part, is that we're able to keep this bottle then. And if we've ever got another crack repair to do, then we can always measure out a smaller kit if need be, if we've got this bottle. Okay, so it's a true 1-to-1 ratio. So let's say, so this kit that I've mixed, this bottle I've mixed here now, will do 4 lineal meters. Okay, but let's say I've only got a small meter, 2 meter crack in a doorway or something like that. Notice by keeping this bottle, I can make myself some small kits. Okay, so that's another little good thing. What else can this be used for? Well, it can't, you know, it's not just for using for cracks. Sometimes you'll get people that are putting down expansion strips indoor, you know, expansion strips. I'll start again. Sometimes people are putting expansion strips in, and they want to try and get a good anchor to the floor. Maybe they're having issues gluing them down or whatever. You can use this, and within 20 minutes they'll have gone off. Okay, and people use it for sticking door plates on, trims, and all that type of stuff. Again, very easy for doing that. So it's a good all-round type of thing. It's not just for repairing cracks. Okay. Once it's had its 3 minutes, you just cut the nozzle. Okay, I'm going a bit quick here because I'm conscious of time. So you can see why I didn't cut the nozzle before, because I would have been covered in it, which has happened before now. Once we've done that, okay, all we do is pour it in. Very easy and very simple way to repair a crack. As you can see, it's got quite a low viscosity, so it will penetrate down into the crack. I just let it sit a little minute because you can see the first bit it is soaking in, and then I'll just go and top that up. Okay. You go about 10 minutes, so you can walk on this after 20 minutes. You can tile on it after 40 minutes. So it's really quick. You can flatten it off with a scraper if you want to, but realistically for tiling, you're not going to need to do that. The only thing I would say is, ideally, what we need to do then is just sand blind it, just to get a good key for whatever we're going to put on top of it, our tile adhesive and so on. But that was a simple little crack repair kit. Took me minutes to do. Yeah. Any questions on that one?
Yes. What is that actually made out of? Is it a resin of sorts?
It is a resin, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a resin, and it'll lock that in together. Okay. Just something in our range, as you say. Don't be on your shelf. But if you ever get asked that question, oh, I know ARDEX have got one, I'll give them a quick call.
I think the most common areas for tilers when they're tiling out a house and that, mostly find these static cracks through door thresholds you see on the floor a lot of the time. So it'd be ideal for those areas before tiling, etc.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for me so far? Now, in a lot of your branches throughout the UK, we have a smoothing compound that a lot of you keep in stock. Okay, it's a product called ARDEX NA. Okay, comes as a bag and a bottle. Yeah. Can anybody tell me just one thing that's special about that smoothing compound? Just one thing.
It can be used straight over bitumen.
It'll go over bitumen. That's really good. Anything else? Sorry, Graham?
You don't need priming.
Good lad. Yeah, don't need priming. Anything else?
These can be used as primer.
Sorry?
These can be used as primer.
It doesn't need a primer. Yeah. Okay. Any more?
It can be used directly over plywood.
Yeah. Hey, you've obviously remembered all the training from my guys coming out to see you guys. Yeah, it can be used on plywood. Anyone else?
It's moisture tolerant.
Good. Good. What we got with this product is it's a good all-rounder. This is a product where in the flooring industry, and I'm sorry to think that, but in the flooring industry, this is the biggest selling smoothing compound on the market. But people use it because it's confidence, it's peace of mind, it just doesn't go wrong, blah, blah, blah. Okay? But it's got so many Newton benefits. And the first one, as somebody on the call has just said, it is moisture tolerant. Okay? So what that means is, if you're in one of these old properties where you've got rising damp or anything like that, no structural membrane in the building, yeah, and they want to put a smoothing compound down before they do the tiling, well, ARDEX NA is ideally suited for that because it won't break down in that scenario. The moisture won't affect it. It won't cause it to soften or debond. Okay, so it's ideal for that scenario. So there's the first benefit of this product. Okay, but there's so many others. Somebody on the call said it'll go over bitumen. A lot of smoothing compounds out there. If you've got bitumen residue on the floor, they get a little bit nervous and they want it scraping off the floor. You've usually got to get a grinder in, or a sander, or something like that to try and get this bitumen off the floor. Okay. A lot of people, a lot of tilers out there, you know, they'll just put a bit of PVA over it and think that'll help the situation, but it won't really because that bitumen's still a layer. Okay. So what ARDEX NA is really, really good for is it actually likes bitumen. It knits to it. So as long as the bitumen's sound and solid, NA will actually bond to it because it's got all the polymers in it. It'll bond to it. It'll knit into the bitumen. So it really gives you a strong bond in that scenario. Okay, but it won't just, you know, it's not just for that. Ceramic tiles. Let's say somebody's got ceramic tiles on the floor, and maybe they just want to tidy it up or go over the top. Okay, yeah, you could apply adhesive direct to a ceramic tile if you use the P4 primer. But sometimes people just want to smooth them out. maybe make up some levels with the ceramic tiles. Well, again, ARDEX and A will go over ceramic tiles, okay, without priming. As long as they're clean, degreased off, ARDEX and A will go over them. Okay, don't have to prime, as you say, don't have to use P4 primer. Even a polished porcelain tile, ARDEX and A will bond to. Okay. Somebody said earlier on it will go over plywood. Okay, so not an issue, but again, without priming.
Kieran said, how about metal?
Okay, Kieran, to answer to your question, as long as the metal's clean and it's not a galvanized steel, it's just normal steel and it's been cleaned off. Okay, probably a little bit of a wire brush up, maybe. No primer, N8 direct. Okay, as we can see there from my sample, you've all seen these probably on a tray cat. If you haven't, we can get them here. All right, that's steel. We've just wire brushed it up, no priming, put NA on it. Okay, so it'll do all that. Old adhesive residues, I'm just going to ask Charlotte if she can flick to the camera where I've got a bit of carpet down. Yeah, it might be an office block or something like that. You know, old carpet, adhesive residue or stuff like that. As long as they've got it cleaned off, it's sound and solid, it'll go over that adhesive. Yeah, not an issue. So we've got some bitumen. Again, all this is without priming. In fact, the only time you really need to prime with ARDEX NA is, can somebody tell me? Yeah, hopefully one of the CTD branches can tell me when you have to prime with ARDEX NA. No? Right, Glenn, what I'm going to do, mate, Glenn, I'm going to go outside and mix it up. But if you can just carry on, take over and talk to them through other benefits of NA, the thickness it'll go to, drying times, when we have to prime with it, and so on. Can I leave that with you, Glenn?
No problems at all.
Okay, cool.
No problems. So, guys, what does NA give to your customers? It minimises the risk and it also saves your customers money. Now, does anyone knows what I'm talking about when I'm saying it minimises risk?
Yes.
Simon?
Yeah. I've had a few instances where people have used the wrong primer, the wrong acrylic primer, from a particular brand, thinking that was suitable to use on an anhydrate screed, for instance.
Right.
Completely wrong. So, yeah, if a tiler builder is unaware of where they can and can't use this product,
Okay.
it can be a nightmare for them, whatever job they're on at that time.
Just quickly on smoothing compounds going over anhydrite screeds, that's probably a good half an hour in itself. So if any branches has a customer that has an anhydrite screed or is unsure, please give the technical team a call, right? And we'll be able to either call your customers directly or we'll have a word to them over the counter. Okay, because as soon as they get a call back, it's cost your contractors money. Does anyone know the main differences between a water mix smoothing compound and a latex based smoothing compound?
A latex mix is more flexible.
Correct. So the main differences between the two, a water mix smoothing compound finds its strength rapidly. So it creates a lot more surface tension on the floor, whereas ARDEX NA and latex based compounds has a lower pulling off strength, tensile strength from the surface. So the NA type finds its strength gradually, you see. So a lot of these tilers or people laying these water mixers on the floor, 9 times out of 10 when I ask them, how do you prime a floor? They say, well, I just dip and roll a roller sleeve. So if you can imagine the surface of that floor, e.g. concrete or screed, and if you're only dipping and rolling that roller sleeve with the primer, all that primer is doing is touching the surface of that screed. What you actually want to do is actually flood prime the floor. So you tip your primer out on the floor and brush it around with a brush or soft bristle broom, and that will penetrate into the capillaries of the screed. So they're in danger of not priming the floor properly. And if they're putting a water mix smoothing compound on that surface, you're at risk of it blowing off the floor. Whereas ARDEX NA, as you rightly said before, Simon, you don't need primer. The primer's water. So you can dampen down the area and then put the ARDEX NA on it while that surface is still damp, and it's got a low surface tension. And ARDEX, that's why it works all day, every day. Any questions on that, on the difference between the two? No.
Okay. Right, thanks Glenn for that. I don't know whether anybody's noticed while Glenn was talking, I was actually brushing a bit of water in. It's always as if we've planned that, okay, into my slab. Now, hopefully what you'll see from this demonstration, the side that I put water won't pinhole, you won't get this effect on the surface. The bit I haven't primed, then hopefully you'll see that. So, with NA, very easy to apply, even though it's a bag and a bottle. Still pour it out. Okay, I'm not worried about that water. There's a bit of residue on the top. Not worried. It won't affect it. It won't break it down, as you say. We use it a lot in the flooring industry under DPMs, damp-proof membranes. No reason why it couldn't be used. If somebody was doing a wet room, they tidy the floor up with this and then put down a tanking system on top of it. Ooh. So straight away, a lot of people switch to water mixes because they're quite easy to apply. Well, even with this being a latex, over in a sticky adhesive residue, how well that's gone down. It's going over black bitumen in the corner here. You can see that. So as a bag in a bottle, I don't know whether Glenn has told you, as a bag in a bottle, it'll go from 3 mil to 12 mil. Okay, so that's what I've got there. Mix that up in a bag in a bottle. 3 to 12 mil, and it'll walk. I can walk on this after 2 hours. Okay, we can tile on it after 3. And we can fit a floor covering on it after 4. Good for the guys that do a bit of both. They do a bit of vinyl flooring, they do a bit of tiling. They can use this all the way through the property. Fit LVTs on it as well after, as well as the tiles. Can make the levels up between the 2 rooms as well.
Obviously a great bit of kit for your traders to have in their van. Again, they don't know what they're turning up to on like any specific jobs. And will virtually cover anything without priming.
Is the drying time temperature sensitive?
No, we're just actually, it's one of the things we do. We've had a lot of contractor feedback and stuff like that. And one of the things they did find feedback to us it wasn't a drying issue in the winter, but when it's really cold, they say it's quite thick to spread. So we've tweaked the formulation to do that. But what that has also done is made it spread more. But realistically, in proper winter conditions, I say we haven't really had a tube ban at the moment, but it will cure, it will dry, as we say on the tin. That's one of the things it's famous for. Whereas a lot of these other smoothing compounds, we always call them still a bit wet, still a bit green, and even the next day. This one won't be. The other good thing about this one, in the tiling world, is now switched on to this, is the spike roller. Okay, realistically, for tiling, we're going to put a adhesive bed on there now. That's perfect, what I've already got there. But you can spike roll it as well if you want, because everybody likes to see it nice and flat now, nice and smooth.
Perfect. I wouldn't go that far, Steve.
Yeah, there's no need for that. I'm trying my best.
I have found personally, using this on my kitchen floor at a bed of 6 mil, it took about 12 hours to dry. And that was about September time on a cold floor that had bitumen on it.
Air movement's important. Wants airflow as well.
Yeah.
To help cure out.
Sometimes though, even without ARDEX NA, it actually sometimes looks dark, but again, it's good enough to tile on. But you should see there, look at the finish on that. Okay. Is that good enough for you now, Glenn?
Yeah, yeah, mate. It's done wonders. Karen, did you have a question?
Yeah, it's, you know, you were saying that my sound keeps going in and out, so forgive me if you have mentioned it, but I've been having issues with my sound. You were saying you don't need to prime, but does that carry over onto anhydrite as well?
No, that's a different kettle of fish. You need to prime an anhydrite. There's also preparation considerations that you need to take into account as well. So the primer to use would be P51 primer. However, every anhydrite screed is almost different to the other. So again, if you've got a customer with an anhydrite screed, please pass it on to ARDEX Technical or Steve, and we can deal with it. We can run through the customer of how to run through. I think Steve, setting up one just for anhydrite screeds for CTD would also be a good idea.
Yeah, that's not an issue. We could do a dedicated hours topic on anhydrites, how to prepare them, how to prime them, and how to put a smooth compound on. Not an issue. Okay. Just to recap, with an anhydrite screed, okay, you always need a barrier between the gypsum and the cement. So yeah, you would have to prime. Most of the time, it's our ARDEX P51 primer, diluted down 3:1, applied with a broom once it's been mechanically repaired, and the anhydrite is dry. Okay, so them two things, and then you can do that. But sometimes the manufacturers of anhydrites ask for an epoxy primer. If they do that, we have got a product called ARDEX R3E. But again, as Glenn says, give us a call. So as I've said, can somebody tell me what thickness did I say is a bag and a bottle this will go to? What thickness did I say it'd go to?
30 millimetres.
12 mil.
Sorry?
12 mil.
12 mil, yeah, as a bag and a bottle. But it will go to 30 millimetres thick if we add granule chip-ins, okay? I'll just bring these closer to the camera. These are the chip-ins. We sell this. It's called the ARDEX coarse aggregate. Hopefully you can see that without me tipping it everywhere. It's on the system. And the reason I wanted to show you this is because I go to a lot of mistakes, and I shouldn't say this, okay, where somebody's got a hole, they want to make up 30 mil. They didn't want to use the A46, they want to use the NA because that's all they've got. So they get the chip-ins and they pour them in the hole and then put the NA over the top. That's not the way it works. The chip-ins have to go into the mixed NA. So I've got the rest of what I used in that bay. I'm just going to pour them in there. And if you're going to go to 30 mil thick, then what we would say is equal volume. Just bear with me a minute. So that's now mixed up. You can see how I applied that. And hopefully you'll pick it up from the camera. Even with the chip-ins in, it still flows. Got enough for the whole bay, but it just gives you an idea. Just grab a trowel. Can be trowel. We wouldn't spike roller it if it's got chip-ins in it, of course. Just so you can see that. You see that on the camera? Yeah. Even with the aggregate in, yeah, it will trowel up. And the aggregate will drop down. The weight of the aggregate will allow it to drop into the mix. So if you want to build up, just put some chip-ins in it, and it will do the job. And then it'll go to 30 mil. The idea of putting chip-ins in it, okay, is it makes it more cost effective at them thicknesses. So if we're going to go 30 mil with chip-ins or aggregate as we call it, it's equal volume, okay. So it's a full bag of NA to a full bag of chip-ins, okay, and that obviously it's going to give you double the amount, probably a little bit more than that actually. All right, so it's going to make it go further, bring the cost down. Just a little bit on chip-ins, you might want to make a note of this in case anybody ever asks you in branch. If they're going to go between, because after 8 mil you can add the chip-ins to try and make it more cost effective. So let's say if you're going to go to 18 mil to 15 mil, okay, you'd probably use a quarter of a bag of the chip-ins to a full bag of NA. If you're going to go to, let's say 15 to 20 mil, okay, half a bag of chip-ins to a full bag of NA. And if you're going to go to the full maximum 30 mil, it's a full bag of chip-ins to a full bag of NA. But all that adds to giving it more coverage and bringing the cost down for you if you're up against cost. So we've got a super duper product there that'll cover all these substrates, which we've all talked about this morning. It bonds to them, it dries, it's walkable, it can be bulked out to save money to go to 30 mil. Really easy. A lot of people, you know, a lot of sites nowadays don't have water on. Okay, so with this product, you don't need a bit of water. You really need to wash your tools off. Comes with its own bottle, so you don't have to worry about water. Okay, it can go into them where there's damp on the floor. Yeah, it can go in that scenario. Not an issue. All right. A lot of people though are switching to fibre reinforced smoothing compounds for the flexibility and stuff like that. Well, even NA, I don't know if Charlotte can switch to this camera. Even NA's got a lot of flexibility to it. Don't know if you can see it if I put it on the floor. Probably not, can you? No. Okay. So that's the old steel. Like I say, no priming. If I give it the old tweak, there you go. Can you see that? If the floor bends that much, I'd get out the house. Okay. But because NA is actually heavily loaded with polymer, yeah, we don't need the fibres in this one. Okay. But look at that. It'll cope with a lot of movement. I'll push it back just in case so you can see it won't fall off. Okay, any questions on ARDEX NA before I move on? It's just a good problem solver, like the A46, the crack repair, and the NA as a system, really, really good. All right, now the final one we're going to look at today is another one that you've got on special. Start again. The other one I'm going to talk about is a product I think you've got a special offer at the moment, which is the ARDEX K301, which is an external leveler. Okay, there's not many of these external levelers around at the moment, and ours was one of the first to come out as an external leveler. It's been around a long time. There's a lot of history, and again, that shows that we know what it will do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if Glenn wouldn't mind talking to the audience about K301. In regards to, well, you can talk to them about thicknesses, drying times, depths, priming. If you want, Glenn, and I'll go mix it back up, and we'll come in and put it down, show you how easy it is.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Steve. Good. So, CTD team, do we all have this K301 in stock in our branches? Hello?
We've got a couple of bags in Stratford, but it's not on the essential list, I don't believe, so we don't keep it normally.
Yeah,
right. Okay. We've got that on promotion. Is that right, Stuart?
Yeah, it's like a buy three get one free.
Yeah, correct. So now is a good time to get in branch, and it's a great opportunity because I have quite a few branches myself, CTD, and yeah, 9 times out of 10 I get phone calls to say, do you have an external leveler? So when we mean external, we can use it for driveways, if you've got damaged concrete, for pathways as well, but you can also use it for internal areas such as like garages and things like that. So if someone has a concrete garage like I have, I use some K301 to smooth it out. Then after you've done that, you can either paint it or cover it with a tile or anything like that. So it's an ideal product. It also has wearing aggregate. So if your customer wants to leave it al natural, then it has wearing aggregate within the product. So if you have like constant wheel traffic going over the top of it, it won't grind the surface away, you see. So it's a very good product in that aspect of things as well. Do you guys know what primer to use with the K301? I'm sure Steve will cover that.
No, I'm not sure myself.
So all your branches must carry the P51 primer, and that's a great primer because it covers a multitude of things. So if you've got a light area where there's light vehicles and as such like, then a P51 primer is ideal. But if you have like a heavy loads, e.g. traffic, forklifts where it's turning on one spot, then you'd start to need to look at our epoxy primers for that. And that gives a massive key to the K301, especially like you imagine a forklift truck would be, say, let's say 1 ton plus another 1 ton load on top of it. That's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight. So it needs a robust primer, like the R3E ARDEX. Does anyone know what thickness you can go up to on the K301? Just as a quick one before Steve gets involved.
No.
Any ideas? It's up to 20 mil, so it's a great resurfacing product. So if you've got chunks of concrete coming out, then we'd obviously say patch it up with the A46 first, then prime it, and you go over with the K301. So it has its use. Steve?
Yep. Okay, so as Glenn said there, K301 external smoothing compound again, another product that's moisture tolerant. Or moisture won't affect it. Okay, it's fine to be used externally. Outside, rain, frost, snow won't affect it. Very, very easy to apply. And as Glenn said, it does need a primer. Okay, but even with our 351 primer, we would dilute that down 7:1. So it's almost water that's doing the job. Okay, we don't want a 3:1 primer, as somebody asked earlier on today. Yeah, there's a chance that primer might break down if it was 3:1 underneath the K301. So it's almost 7:1. You say there's not much primer in that at all. Put it in with a broom, let it go off. And again, mechanical in areas where this car's going over it, must be the R3E primer. So not to go over too much. So this product really, really does flow, does all that. Anybody that's seen the videos I did during the first lockdown, I did a garage floor for someone, which I was conned into, and I did my garden path at home. But first of all, I'm just going to pour some out before we talk about that. Okay. Hopefully you can see that from the camera. Very fluidy, creamy mix. Okay. Can be put on with a pin rake. In big areas, patios, driveways, garden paths, it's all been used for them. You can actually give this a brush finish. So if you catch it just right, you can get a broom, put a broom through it. It can be left as a finish, so people can traffic it, walk on it. They don't necessarily need to put tiles on it or paint on it or whatever. It can be left. This is abrasion resistant. It can take epoxy paints. So I say, really easy, really simple. No need to get on your knees to apply this one. Now, did you notice how that poured out the bucket, how fluidy it was? What would happen, let's say I'm going to use it externally, what do we get with most external concrete slabs, pathways and stuff like that? What's usually involved in there?
Drainage slopes.
Drainage slopes, yeah, there's always a bit of a slope. Well, you've seen how I poured that down there. Everybody thought, yeah, it would all going to run down to the bottom. Well, there's a little bit of a trick that I can give you with our product, okay? And there isn't many others you can do this with because they're very precise on the water content. But ours, you can take it, this is 3 3/4 litres. So you can take a litre out of it, okay? Yeah, it will actually hold on ramps, okay? And again, if anybody wants to tune in to the Steve at Home video I did of the K301 on my garden path, there's quite a slope on that path, and I held it back a litre back out of the water, and it just smoothed out lovely. So that's a little bit of a trick. If somebody has got a bit of a fall, just hold the water back a little bit. So again, we'll pour the last bit out just to show it can be troweled as well. Just move that out of the way. I say, as Glenn said, it will go to 20 mil, not an issue. So our walk on.
Would temperature affect the drying time? So if it was colder or warmer, would it dry quicker? Or
yeah, obviously if the sun's baking on the path, it's going to go off a little bit quicker. And obviously with this one, if it's cold, then yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer. Okay, but not a massive amount. One of the things that we do say to a lot of guys, we get a lot of people ring us in the summer, oh, this stuff's gone off too quick. But what they don't tell you is, and they're probably saying for you with your tile adhesives and all that type of stuff, what they don't tell you is the bags have been sitting out in the sun all day. Cement stores heat, okay? And it's surprising how hot it is inside of them bags. So obviously in the summer day, it's going to go off a lot quicker than it would in the winter. But obviously winter's not too bad because it's designed for them conditions. All right. Where it's got such a variety of uses. Again, you've got a damp floor. You could use it on, on top of a damp floor, so damp concrete. The concrete outside doesn't have to have a structural membrane under it. It might be an old garden slab. Okay, you can tie it up with this. It won't debond. It won't break. The only thing we do say is just make sure you clean it up. All right, get a pressure washer on it, get a grinder or a scabbling machine. Just clean the concrete up, and it's good to go. Okay, so that's that. And again, it can be spike rolled to give you that smoother finish if you want to. Or it can, as I say, it can just be left once I've spike rolled it and painted, or just left as a square surface, or it can be tiled. Not an issue. We use this in our swimming pool system. So let's say someone's got a swimming pool and the concrete slab in the bottom of the pool is reasonably okay, but they just need to smooth it out to get it to SR1. K301 is suitable and is guaranteed by ARDEX in a swimming pool scenario. Okay, so it'll go in that environment. Okay, not a problem. And you can put a tanking system over it. So something like our swimming pool tanking system can go on there. So S7 Plus, not an issue. In the bottom of the pool. K301. Another good product to have. Okay, we do a tanking system for all properties with the damp, which is called the WPM 200. Again, you could smooth the floor out with this first in an old property. And if you wanted to tank the floors, you could use the WPM 200 over the top, 2 coats up the walls. Job done. Okay, on top of this. Really simple and really easy. Any questions on any of the products that I've shown you guys today?
Just to give the guys an idea about strength of K301. K301 will find equal strength to concrete within 7 days. Whereas concrete to find its strength will take months on occasion. So it's a very, very hard product, K301.
Okay. Cool. Right. Thanks for everybody that's tuned in today. Hope you found that useful. Okay, that's the first session of today.